I gotta give you a heads up, this story has a really graphic and disturbing twist at the end, so just be advised. Every single day, y'all, we're out here leaving behind a trail of digital breadcrumbs. You know what I'm talking about, liking a random pic on Instagram, shooting off a quick text, firing back an email before we even think twice. Just little everyday footnotes of life on the go. And because they're so routine, we barely notice them. But here's the thing, have you ever thought that one of those tiny forgettable moments could end up being the very last line of your story? Like the final period at the end of a sentence you didn't even know you were writing? Quick thing before we start, where are you watching from right now? What time is it there? What's the weather like? And tell me, what case do you want next? Leave it in the comments. I go through everyone. Make sure you're subscribed. Let's go. For Ashley Lachey Elkins, that final word came rolling in on the very first days of a brand new year. Michigan winter, bitter cold, the holidays fading out, and it all came down to one single word glowing on a phone screen, sent to her mom, Amen. That was it. A word of faith, of love, of connection. And right after that, silence. Not just the casual, I'll hit you back later kind of silence. I'm talking absolute terrifying silence. Now, picture this. The 2nd of January, 2025. Warren, Michigan. Frost biting the air. Folks are still dragging their Christmas trees to the curb. New year just barely getting started. For Ashley, 30 years old, hustling as a hairstylist, raising 2 little boys who were her whole world, it was supposed to be just another regular day. A day of errands, plans, mom life grind. And her phone? That was her lifeline, same as it is for most of us. Y'all know how it is, those morning texts with your mom or your best friend, like your daily ritual. Ashley's mom, Monica, hit her with the usual, good morning. Simple, sweet, steady. And Ashley shot back that one-word reply, Amen. Quick, almost instant. The connection was made, but then things started to feel off. An hour later, Monica sent another text. No reply. Easy to explain, right? Ashley's driving. She's at the store. Busy. But as the hours ticked by, that excuse started feeling thinner and thinner. Monica called. Ring after ring, no answer. Straight to voicemail, Ashley's bright, cheerful voice on the recording. And then, not long after, the phone didn't even ring. Just went dead. Either turned off or battery gone. And in that silence, y'all, that's when the dread crept in. Because this wasn't Ashley. She was the glue, the anchor, the one who always stayed connected. She wouldn't just disappear. Not on her kids. Not on her family. Panic turned into action real fast. Calls flying out to friends, clients, anyone who might have seen her. Every answer the same. Nobody had. By sunset, the family's unease had hardened into pure fear. Something was wrong, like deeply wrong. They called 911, and just like that, their private nightmare became a police case. But while officers started working through their cold, procedural questions, everyone close to Ashley was haunted by just one chilling thought. Where is Ashley Elkins? On paper, a police file is cold as ice, fam. Just bullet points. A name, Ashley Elkins. Age, 30. Profession, hairstylist. Status, missing. Boom. End of story. But y'all know, life ain't ever that simple. A human being is way more than a couple of lines on some dusty manila folder. Ashley was a whole vibe, a whole story. She was laughter, ambition, late night talks, inside jokes, love that hit deep. Let me paint the picture for you. Ashley wasn't just cutting hair, nah, she was an artist. Her chair? That wasn't just where folks sat for a trim. It was like stepping into a sanctuary, a safe zone. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about, where the barbershop or the salon becomes the neighborhood therapy spot. You sit down and suddenly you're spilling secrets, talking dreams, laughing about the drama at work. Ashley made people feel seen. That's rare. That's powerful. She dreamed big too. Owning her own salon, building a spot filled with her signature energy, her warmth. And listen, she wasn't grinding just for herself. She was hustling for her 2 boys, her whole world. Those kids? They were her why. Every early morning, every long shift, every sacrifice, it was all for them. She was carving out a life where her boys would know love, stability, and that unshakable truth. Mom's always here. And that's why her sudden disappearance hit like an earthquake, y'all. One moment she was the rock, the anchor, the certainty, and the next, her boys were left standing in rubble, wondering if their world would ever steady again. But let's not forget about Monica, Ashley's mom. If Ashley's boys were her why, Monica was her compass, her North Star. Their relationship? Man, it went way beyond your typical mother-daughter setup. They were besties, teammates, each other's hype squad. They had that unbreakable bond, and those daily phone calls, they weren't a chore. They were the rhythm of their lives, sharing every little thing, what the kids did, a funny story from a client, the dreams, the fears. That's what made their silence on the 2nd of January so deafening. So, when we say Ashley went missing, don't let your brain reduce that to just another case file. Nah. This wasn't just some statistic on a poster. This was a mom, a daughter, a creator, a friend, and that empty space she left behind, it was massive. And here's the thing, fam. When her story hit the streets, it wasn't just detectives chasing a lead. Everyone who heard it felt that weight. Because this wasn't just about finding a missing woman, it was about fighting for a life that mattered. When somebody vanishes, the clock starts ticking fast. And trust me, y'all, it ain't ticking in your favor. Every second feels heavier, every minute that passes is a door closing. So, in Warren Police Department, fluorescent lights buzzing, detectives running on caffeine, the case of Ashley Elkins stopped being a simple, maybe she's just out of touch situation. Nah, this wasn't some teen storming off after an argument or an adult trying to go off the grid for a weekend detox. Ashley was a mom with 2 kids, steady routine, steady life. She didn't just disappear. Something had snapped, violently. Now here's the wild part. When people go missing in the 21st century, you don't start by combing through the woods with flashlights. Nah, the first crime scene, it's invisible. It's all around us. It's the signals bouncing between our phones, the digital echoes we leave behind. Y'all know how it is, our phones snitch on us more than our best friends ever could. So detectives pulled the trigger on an emergency subpoena, basically legal paperwork demanding Ashley's cell provider to cough up her last digital moves. It was a waiting game, but when the data came in, man, it was both precise and chilling. See, what they expected was a trail, like little breadcrumbs showing her moving across town, ping here, ping there, but what they got was way darker. Not a trail, just a dead end. Ashley's phone had made its final digital handshake with one single tower early the 2nd of January, and the signal? Strong, pinpoint accurate, no movement after, just silence. And when they mapped those coordinates, oh y'all, that pin didn't drop on some mall or highway, it dropped on a residential apartment complex in Roseville. And the first thing detectives asked themselves, did Ashley know anyone there? They ran the address, cross-referenced names, and boom, one popped up that sent a jolt through the whole room. DeAndre Booker, her ex. Now the vibe shifted instantly. This wasn't random anymore. This was personal. Cops rolled out to the complex, tension high. They knocked. DeAndre himself answered. And check this, he was calm, cool, cooperative, even. Told them he hadn't seen Ashley, hadn't talked to her, let them peek inside his apartment. No signs of a struggle, no Ashley, no car, just a regular guy in a regular apartment, lead slammed cold. Think about that for a second, fam. The phone data had screamed, she's here. But the real world check? Nothing, just denial. And that left one terrifying question hanging in the air like a ghost. Was DeAndre telling the truth? Or was Ashley already in that apartment, never to leave again? Momentum, fam, that's everything in an investigation. And for days, Ashley's case had none, just silence. The kind that eats you alive. Detectives had a location, had a person of interest, but no Ashley, no car, nothing solid, ice cold. Then, boom, a break. A patrol cop, just doing the usual drive-by canvassing, spots something, parked between 2 other cars like it was just another Tuesday silver Chevy Malibu. License plate check? Yup, Ashley's car. And yo, let me tell you, finding the victim's ride near a suspect's place, that's a game changer. That's probable cause. Straight up legal green light. Suddenly, detectives had the golden ticket. A search warrant for DeAndre Booker's apartment. This time, no more knocking politely. They weren't there for chit-chat. They were there to tear the place down, inch by inch. When the team rolled in, it wasn't chaos they found, it was order. Too much order. You know, that creepy clean vibe, like someone scrubbed the soul out of the place. And then The smell. Bleach. Heavy. That sharp sting in the back of your throat, cops know it instantly. Not just, I cleaned up for guests. Bleach. Nah, this was I'm erasing history. Bleach. Trash bins confirmed it. Empty industrial strength bottles tossed like shells after a firefight. But here's the thing, y'all. Bleach can't hide everything. The forensic team? They weren't relying on regular eyes. They shut the lights off, cracked open the luminol. If you don't know, that stuff is like a ghost detector. It reacts with blood, even the tiniest trace, lighting it up in a neon blue glow. Spray, wait, and then boom. First speckles under the sink, then on the toilet. And then, like some sinister connect the dots, a whole pattern started to show. Smears, wipes, splatter. The walls, the floor, the vanity all glowing like some twisted constellation. That apartment wasn't clean, y'all. It was screaming. And right there, any last hope that Ashley had just taken time off, needed space, maybe walked away for a breather, that hope died in that glow.
But we begin tonight with a bombshell in the case of Ashley Elkins. She's the Macomb County mother who's been missing now for weeks. We want to get right out to Jacqueline Francis live in Roseville.
And Jacqueline, this has to do with DNA evidence.
Demond and Kimberly, it does. I'm standing out back of Ashley's ex-boyfriend's Roseville apartment. This was the last place Ashley was, according to police. And if we take a few steps over to the dumpster, it was a dumpster just like this one that was confiscated a few weeks ago by police during a search. And we now, just as of this afternoon, have those results back. Police telling us that the DNA found inside the dumpster is a match for Ashley's DNA. We want to show you some video from that search that happened here a few weeks ago. I was out here for hours that night as police not only took the dumpster, they also combed inside and outside of the ex-boyfriend DeAndre Booker's apartment here. We also have news on that front. Police telling us the DNA collected from inside the apartment was also a match for Ashley's. The family has been notified of this. So what can we make of all of this? Our sources tell us to expect murder charges to come now that they have this evidence to help build that case. The ex-boyfriend DeAndre Booker, he's been behind bars for a few weeks now. They charged him with lying to police in this investigation, but we had been told throughout to possibly expect more charges, and this could be the evidence they needed to bring those charges, even though no body has been found. Family telling me tonight they're hoping that this will be what they need to bring those murder charges forward. Reporting live in Roseville, Jacqueline Francis, Local 4.
Because this wasn't a missing person case anymore, this was a crime scene. Here's the thing, y'all, walls can be scrubbed, floors bleached, carpets ripped out. You can try to erase the physical world, but in 2025, there's always a second crime scene. The one living in your phone, your searches, your digital life, and that one, way harder to clean. So, while the forensic crew was still swabbing the bathroom, detectives were already chasing another lead, DeAndre's online footprint. They filed a fresh set of warrants, phone records, social media, Google searches, everything. Basically, they wanted a backstage pass straight into his brain.
The day he came to the house, he acted like he was a client, and he made an appointment with her. She was expecting that client, it was him. And they were in the house quiet. She told him to be quiet. He knocked on the front door and the side door, and then he left. And then here is 2 days later, she's gone.
And when the data came back, oh man, it was like reading a diary typed in panic. First up, right after Ashley was reported missing, DeAndre allegedly searched how to beat a lie detector test. Y'all feel that? That's guilt sweating bullets. To cops, it was the first crack in his calm act. But it didn't stop there. Next query, if blood is traceable. Bruh, that's not random late night Googling, that's someone staring at bleach bottles and panicking. That's the digital fingerprint matching the blue glow on his bathroom walls. And then came the one that made detectives' stomachs drop. What happens to trash after it's picked up? Think about that for a sec. Not recycling, not composting, trash. Picked up, gone, forever. Cops reading that knew exactly what it meant. He wasn't worried about banana peels, y'all. He was worried about evidence. And it spiraled darker. Allegedly searching for weapons stuff like 9mm silencer, Roseville. That's local. That's specific. That's premeditation. And then came the nail in the coffin. The one search that might as well have been a confession typed in black and white. Murder out of rage, X. Yeah, he put it in writing. His motive, his rage, his crime plan, typed into Google like the internet was his diary. So let's break this down. Deception, cleanup, disposal, weapons, motive. One breadcrumb after another, leading straight back to DeAndre. He might have stood there calm, denying everything to cops, but online, his own words were telling the story of a killer. Here's the problem, fam. Search history, creepy, damning, but it ain't proof. Any slick defense lawyer can stand up and say, yo, those are just morbid thoughts, not actions. So prosecutors knew they needed something real, something you could see with your own eyes. And in today's world, eyes are everywhere. Surveillance cameras, parking lots, hallways, dumpsters, you name it. Cameras don't blink, cameras don't lie. So detectives got busy. They pulled every shred of footage from the Roseville complex. Picture this, hours on end, sitting in a dark room, eyes burning, watching boring, everyday life play out on grainy screens. Cars pulling in, dogs getting walked, people carrying groceries. Over and over. Nothing. Then boom, there it was. Timestamp, 7:58 a.m., the 2nd of January. A silver Chevy Malibu rolls in. Ashley's car, clear enough to see it. She parks, she's there. And here's where it gets chilling. Detectives kept watching, day after day, spooling through the tapes. They saw DeAndre come and go, but Ashley, never, not once. She walked in, and she never walked out. But the real gut punch came later. Another camera, this one facing the dumpsters. The footage shows a man, same build, same gait, same clothes as DeAndre pushing a shopping cart. And it ain't groceries inside. There's something big, heavy, draped under a white sheet. He pushes hard, wheels rattling on the pavement, then bam, the cart jolts over a bump. For just a split second, the sheet shifts. And y'all, what slips out is pale, limp, unmistakable. A human arm. Detectives froze, rewound, watched again. There was no mistaking it. He hurried, readjusted the sheet, kept pushing like nothing happened. Rolled up to the dumpster, strained to lift that heavy shape, and heaved it in. Cart empty, job done. That video hit like a horror movie. It was the living, breathing version of his own Google search. What happens to trash after it's picked up? But here's the kicker. They were already too late. By the time cops saw the footage, sanitation crews had done their route. The dumpster was emptied, compacted, and hauled to a landfill miles away.
Dozens of officers have spent the day at the top of a landfill in Lenox Township searching for any trace of missing mom Ashley Elkins. Now, this search has been ongoing since Monday, making it 4 days. Crews have spent conducting a grid search on Pine Tree Acres landfill in freezing cold temperatures. Let's bring in Sean Lay. We've been covering this story on the ground and from the air. What is the latest on the investigation at this hour, Sean?
You can see it right now. Pitch black out here, and the investigators just left. More than 20 police officers and volunteers up there, way up there, looking for the body of Ashley Elkins, and they didn't want to leave. That's how committed they are. That's how emotional they are to finding some peace, some justice, and some closure for this heartbroken family. So here's the deal. No remains have been found, but we just got an update from Roseville's police chief. He says they're not giving up.
Got a lot of work in today. We'll be back tomorrow morning. We're still inside our targeted area, and we have some more to go, a little deeper and a little wider, and we'll be back first thing in the morning to hopefully finish up. We have some, like I said yesterday, we have some items that are being processed for evidence. We don't know if they're related to this case or not, and we'll ascertain that once we get back to the office and get them to the evidence lab.
Guys, let's break that down for you, exactly what he's exactly saying there. And the key elements are, we're back here tomorrow, and they're not going to give up, because I asked the chief how you have a high confidence level that you're going to find the remains of Ashley right up there. And he said, absolutely. That's where the evidence is leading them. If they had gone out of here and said, we're going to regroup and see where this leads us now, that's not the case. They're going to be back here tomorrow, and they're very hopeful, and they have a high confidence. They're going to get some answers here. Back to you.
Can't imagine what that family's going through tonight. All right, Sean,
right.
Thank you.
So now, in freezing Michigan winter, detectives were knee-deep in garbage, digging through mountains of waste, layer by layer, hoping to find even a shred of Ashley. But the truth? The landfill swallowed her whole, just like he planned. Here's the thing, y'all. A mountain of circumstantial evidence might look strong, but in court, it can crumble fast. And DeAndre Booker, he wasn't just walking free. He was arrested, hit with charges. First-degree murder, kidnapping, concealment of a crime, the works. Still, he played it cool. Swore up and down he was innocent. Now the legal game begins. And the prosecution's challenge? Man, it was brutal. Think about it. No body, no murder weapon, no eyewitness, just a trail of chilling clues. That's a high-stakes gamble. First stop wasn't even trial. It was the preliminary hearing, a test run where the judge decides if the evidence is strong enough to move forward. For Ashley's family, sitting in that courtroom was torture. They had to hear, piece by piece, the gruesome puzzle of what likely happened to their daughter.
Mr. Booker, I was told earlier that you did not want to sit. You can sit if you wish, but if you don't want, you can stand. No response, so with that, you need a question, witness.
Judge, I want to place on the record an objection to the defendant posturing in this manner in an attempt, my opinion, to intimidate witnesses that are going to be testifying against him today. That's the court runs its courtroom the way it sees fit, and I recognize that, but I didn't want to just place it on the record.
Prosecutors came locked and loaded. First, the phone expert showing how Ashley's last ping landed right at DeAndre's apartment. Then came the surveillance footage, Ashley's car pulling in, and that haunting cart scene by the dumpster. Everyone in that courtroom felt the chill. Next, detectives took the stand, walking through the bleach smell, the glowing luminol, the blood specks that wouldn't stay hidden. Then, the bombshell. DeAndre's Google searches, read out loud, one after the other. How to beat a lie detector. If blood is traceable, what happens to trash after it's picked up? And finally, the search that hit like a death sentence. Murder out of Rage X. Piece by piece, prosecutors were building a cage around him. But DeAndre's lawyer? He came swinging too. Argued the video was too grainy to confirm the guy was DeAndre. Claimed the blood wasn't proven to be Ashley's yet. Painted the searches as true crime curiosity. Nothing more. Classic defense play. Create doubt, break the chain, link by link. But the state had been holding back their ace. They called the lead forensic investigator again, this time not about walls or bleach. This time, plumbing. Y'all, listen to this. They pulled apart the pipes under the sink and bathtub, and deep in that S-bend trap, where the water catches debris, they found three things. First, a tangled clump of dark processed hair. Second, a silver hoop earring. Ashley's family swore she never took them off. And third, a tiny piece of gray metal. A bullet fragment. Right there, everything clicked. The prosecution laid out their theory. This wasn't some spur-of-the-moment fight. It was planned. DeAndre lured Ashley in, shot her, used the bathtub to contain the mess, washed it down the drain. Hair, earring, bullet all left behind like ghosts of the crime. Then, he wrapped her body, dumped it in the cart, and rolled it to the dumpster. Motive, method, cover-up. The whole story laid bare for the court. Here's the harsh truth. Fam stacking evidence high don't always mean you'll get a slam dunk conviction. And after days of testimony, after every sickening detail was laid out in that courtroom, everything went quiet. Heavy quiet. The judge had to decide, is this enough to move DeAndre Booker to trial for murder, even without the one thing that usually seals it, the body? No body, no weapon, no eyewitness. Just a chain of blood, bleach, Google searches, and grainy footage. And you could feel the weight in that room. Ashley's family sitting there, broken but holding on. Her mom, Monica, reliving that amen text over and over. Her 2 little boys too young to fully understand, but their world shattered all the same. The judge pressed pause. Not a verdict, not a sentence, just a pause. The whole case, the whole fight for justice, dangling in limbo. One person with the power to decide if this mountain of circumstantial evidence was strong enough to drag a man to trial for a murder where the victim's never been found. And that's where it gets cruel, y'all. Because for Ashley's family, there's no pause button. Every day is the same agony. Every sunrise is another day without answers, another day without closure. A house filled with silence where her laughter used to be. So here we are living in a world where our digital lives echo forever. Every search, every text, every breadcrumb leaves a mark. But the real question, can that echo be loud enough to speak for a life violently erased? Can data, can clues, can pieces of digital truth ever equal justice when the most important piece, Ashley herself, is still missing? That's the cliffhanger we're left with. And it's brutal. Because until the system moves, until justice speaks, one question haunts everything. Where is Ashley Elkins?
Can you describe their relationship? Have you been around them when they were
Yeah,
together?
he was around my whole family. When I say I thought he was the one who was going to marry her, he was good to our kids. He played ball with them. He took me to their haircuts. He was there. He was always at my house. I cooked. He was part of the family. So I'm just really shook that he would do something like this. But we accepted him. We accepted you in our family. You met her grandmother, you met her aunt, you met all her father's side of the family. You were good to those boys. You know, you didn't think that how it would affect those boys, the ones you got their haircut, the ones you kept sometimes when she had to run errands, the ones you played ball with, the ones you took to the park. You didn't care about them.